The first words out of her mouth were a venomous hiss, cutting through the serene lake air like shattered glass. "You, sir, are in violation of no less than a dozen bylaws. And frankly, your cabin is an eyesore, a blight on our community's aesthetic." Karen, a woman who seemed to be surgically attached to her clipboard and a permanent scowl, stood with her hands on her hips, a posture of absolute, unassailable authority. It's funny, isn't it, how a person can turn a perfect, sun-drenched morning into a living nightmare with just a few syllables. I felt my jaw tighten. I'd spent the last year meticulously restoring this cabin, every splinter and sunbeam a testament to my late grandfather. Now, this self-appointed monarch was here to burn it all down. My dad, quiet and frail from his recent chemo treatments, put a hand on my shoulder, a silent plea to stay calm. "Not now, son. We've received complaints," she continued, her voice dripping with a sickly sweet satisfaction. "Numerous ones. Your boat dock is, let's just say, it's not up to code. It's a danger. We simply can't have this. The HOA is prepared to offer you a fair price to vacate the premises. We can have the paperwork ready by this afternoon." She didn't offer a choice. She offered a verdict, a dismissal. The audacity of it took my breath away. It was a physical punch to the gut. The lake lapped gently against the shore, a soft rhythm in stark contrast to the pounding in my chest. A silent, seething fury began to rise, a low hum that threatened to drown out the chirping birds and the distant buzz of a passing motorboat. What right did she have? What possible right? I felt the familiar burn of grief mixing with a fresh, hot rage. This cabin was all I had left of him. Dad's grip on my shoulder tightened. He knew. He could feel the simmering anger in me. I took a deep, shuddering breath, the air thick with the scent of pine and impending confrontation. This cabin is my property, my private property. It was my grandfather's, and it's not for sale. The words came out sharper than I intended, but the look on her face was worth it. A flicker of surprise, quickly replaced by an even more patronizing smirk. "Private property? Don't be ridiculous. This land is part of the Lakeview Estates Homeowners Association. You're merely leasing a slice of it. Now, let's be reasonable. We're offering you a generous buyout to get rid of this rustic disaster." She gestured dismissively at the hand-carved totem pole my grandfather had made, a magnificent piece of folk art that I treasured. I felt my hands ball into fists. "No, no, no. This is a game you don't know the rules to, lady." I looked at my dad, whose face was a mask of weary defeat. He'd fought this battle for years, a quiet, losing war against the HOA's constant encroachment. I'd seen the countless letters, the fines, the threats, but he'd always told me, "Just let it be. Son, it's not worth the trouble." I couldn't let it be anymore. Not now. I glanced down at my pocket. The worn leather wallet. Inside, a single, unassuming document. A deep, natural sigh escaped me, the kind that feels like an exhale of an entire lifetime of frustration. "Ma'am," I started, my voice now low and steady. "I think there's been a misunderstanding, a rather large one." Karen let out a theatrical huff of impatience. "There is no misunderstanding. I have the plat maps right here. Your grandfather signed an agreement with the original developer, transferring ownership of the land to the HOA. This is all very standard." She held up a binder, a smug look on her face. I almost laughed. Almost. This was the moment. I slowly reached into my pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper, its edges soft and worn. A gasp. My dad's head snapped up, his eyes wide with a mix of confusion and dawning hope. I placed the paper on the rustic table on the dock, right between us. "You see this?" I asked, my voice calm, almost conversational. "This isn't a lease, it's a deed. My grandfather gave me this before he passed. It shows that he retained ownership of this specific lot, the cabin, the land it sits on, and well, the dock." Karen's face went white, then purple, then a blotchy shade of red. She snatched the paper, her fingers trembling as she unfolded it. Her eyes scanned the legal jargon, the signatures, the embossed seal. A wave of a new, different kind of fury washed over her. It was the fury of a defeated tyrant. This can't be right. Our records, they don't show this," she stammered, her voice cracking. "This is a forgery, a complete fake." How delicious her panic was. The sweet, satisfying taste of justice. It was a flavor I'd waited a lifetime to savor. I leaned in, my voice a whisper. But wait, there's more. A sly smile crept onto my face. A genuine smile, for the first time in what felt like a long time. My dad, watching all of this unfold, had a small, triumphant smile of his own. I let her flail for a moment, her mind racing, searching for a way out of her self-imposed trap. Then I pointed to the dock under our feet, the very foundation on which she was making her pompous demands. You see this dock, Karen? This whole structure, the one you claim, is a danger and a blight. Her eyes followed my finger, a cold dread setting in. This is the main, shared dock for the entire HOA. It was built with my grandfather's permission. On his land, the same land you claim he signed over to you. A condition of that agreement, which you seem to have misplaced, was that he would maintain ownership of this entire stretch of shoreline. Silence fell, a heavy, suffocating blanket. The only sound was the far-off drone of a passing boat and the frantic fluttering of the deed. In Karen's hand, her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Her elaborate facade of power crumbled before our eyes, leaving behind a pathetic, sputtering woman. My dad's grip on my shoulder finally loosened, and he let out a long, slow breath. I watched as Karen's eyes darted around, looking for an escape, a way to save face. But there was none. I had her. The hook was set. I watched her, the self-proclaimed queen of Lakeview Estates, as the realization sank in. The plat maps, the bylaws, the endless, self-righteous paperwork, it all meant nothing. My grandfather, a quiet, unassuming man, had outmaneuvered them all years ago. He had foreseen this very day. A single, solitary tear traced a path down her cheek. I don't understand, she whispered, her voice barely audible. What happens now? The power dynamic had shifted completely. I was in control. And the sweetest revenge, I found, isn't about victory. It's about quiet, dignified grace. Now, I said softly, picking up the deed and folding it neatly, the danger is to you. I let the words hang in the air, a silent but palpable threat. The other HOA members were starting to gather, drawn by the commotion. They saw the deed. They saw the defeat on Karen's face, and they knew. Their silent judgment was worse than any verbal lash. She was a woman who had built her entire identity on control, and in one swift moment, I had stripped her of it. She was no longer a monarch. She was just Karen, a pathetic, defeated woman, standing on land she didn't own, about to face the music. She turned and walked away, her shoulders slumped, her once confident stride replaced by a shuffling, defeated gait. The silence she left behind was no longer tense. It was peaceful. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves on the trees, and the lake, with its gentle lapping, seemed to sigh in relief. My dad squeezed my shoulder again, this time a quiet sign of pride. We had won. Not a battle, but the whole war. The lake breeze felt different now, cool and clean. The sound of the waves felt like a gentle applause. We had faced the storm, and now, all that was left was the sun. The air was filled with the promise of a quiet, undisturbed future. It was a victory not just for us, but for the quiet, understated spirit of my grandfather. A spirit of peaceful resistance, of having the last laugh, all from beyond the grave. And as I looked out at the lake, I knew that this victory wasn't just about owning a piece of land. It was about reclaiming a legacy, about honoring a man who knew the true value of things, who knew the difference between owning property and being owned by it. In the end, what do you think? Did my grandfather have the right to trick the HOA like that? Or was his quiet cunning a righteous act of self-preservation against an overbearing organization?